सुकृति,
Yes,
सुकृति
yes,
मैं
Bhai Sahib, yes, you are audible, Bhai Sahib. You are visible also.
नहीं, मगर मैं ये पूछ रहा हूँ कि अभी मधुकर जी ज्वाइन किए थे ना,
जी जी जी
तो उनका सेशन करा लीजिए,
जी
मैं भी सुनूंगा। अभी चाहो
जी
तो मैं मधुकर जी का परिचय करा देता हूँ। जी जी।
जी जी. That would be great. Yes.
हाँ भाई, आप सब लोगों का बहुत बहुत स्वागत है। और कुछ समय आपको तकलीफ झेलनी पड़ी, ये पता नहीं क्या टेक्निकल प्रॉब्लम थी, मेरा ऑडियो नहीं ऑन हो पा रहा था और आप इधर की दूसरी तरफ से भी आवाज मुझे नहीं जा पा रही थी। आप लोगों ने बहुत बड़ा मोर्चा फतेह किया है। ये मेंस एग्जाम सबसे बड़ी हर्डल होती है सिविल सर्विसेज के सिलेक्शन में। आप ऐसा मान लीजिए कि यू आर वेरी नियर टू अचीविंग योर ऑब्जेक्ट, और पूरे कॉन्फिडेंस से आप जितना भी अब आपका इंटरव्यू का टाइम है प्रिपेयर करने का, उसमें पूरे कॉन्फिडेंस से प्रिपेयर करिए और ईश्वर करे आपको सफलता मिले। मैं अभी हमारे बीच में जो मुख्य हमारे वक्ता या आपको गाइड करने के लिए आए हैं, श्रीमान मधुकर भगत जी, ये 1995 बैच के आईआरएस अफसर हैं और इससे पहले ये रेलवेज की सर्विस में थे, यानी आफ्टर 12th। और उस सर्विस में रहते हुए इनके ध्यान में आया कि सिविल सर्विसेज किया जाए। बड़ा चैलेंज था, गाड़ी में घूमते फिरते हुए इन्होंने तैयारी की, जितनी पुस्तकें पढ़ सकी पढ़ी, मेंस क्लियर किया, इंटरव्यू में आए। इंटरव्यू के लिए भी 250 पुस्तकें पढ़ी इन्होंने। ये बहुत अच्छे कवि हैं, माता जी बहुत अच्छी कवित्री हैं, परंतु उस समय के सबसे बड़ी आयु के सबसे नोन कवि को खुद मिले ये, टू अंडरस्टैंड कविता कवि। मैं आपको ये नहीं कह रहा कि आप सब यही करेंगे मगर कितनी अच्छी तैयारी की जा सकती है ये मैं आपके ध्यान में ला रहा हूँ। और इनके 246 या 56, मधुकर जी कितने मार्क्स है आपके?
246 82% थे भाई साहब।
हाँ, 246 यानी 82% मार्क्स है इनके इंटरव्यू में।
उस समय 300
और
नंबर।
हाँ, और ये बहुत बड़ी बात थी, क्योंकि इनको पता था कि ट्रेन में भागते भागते दौड़ते हुए बहुत ज्यादा मेंस में मार्क्स अचीव करना मुश्किल होगा। मगर इंटरव्यू के इनके लास्ट जो क्वेश्चंस हैं मैं कभी नहीं भूलता। तो इनको लास्ट बट वन क्वेश्चन पूछा गया था कि आप ऑलरेडी एक सर्विस में हैं, जिस सर्विस में आपको पूरा खर्च किया गया है, आपको इंजीनियरिंग कराई गई है, एफसीआरए में थे ये। एफसीआरए है ना वो सर्विस का नाम,
जी
इफ
जी
आई एम
जी
नॉट
जी, बिल्कुल
मिस्टेकन। हाँ,
बिल्कुल भाई
तो उस सर्विस में थे और उस सर्विस में पूरी इनको इंजीनियरिंग कराई जाती है, सब कुछ किया जाता है। तो अब आपको वहां के लिए आप इतने ट्रेंड हैं और इन सिविल सर्विस में भी रेलवे सर्विस है, तो हम आपको क्यों सिलेक्ट करें? आप आईएएस बनना चाहते हैं, मगर आपको क्यों शिफ्ट ओवर करें? तो इन्होंने बहुत सधा हुआ जवाब दिया, जो पहले से सोच के गए थे, इनको पता था कि ये बात यहीं आके अटकेगी फाइनली। तो इन्होंने कहा बेस्ट डिजर्व्स द बेस्ट। मतलब ये कि अगर मैं बेस्ट हूँ तो अब ये देखिए कि बेस्ट सर्विस कौन सी है। अगर आपको लगता है कि मैं रेलवे में रह जाऊं तो रेलवे में रख दीजिए, अगर आपको लगता है कि आईएएस होती है तो मुझे आईएएस दे दीजिए। अब इतना छोटा सा सटीक इतना बढ़िया आंसर इन्होंने दिया, मगर वो बोर्ड है ना, तो बोर्ड टर्न डाउन नहीं हुआ। उसने फिर अगला सवाल किया, वो बड़ा ही फनी और बड़ा ही ट्रिकी सवाल था। वो उन्होंने किया कि मिस्टर मधुकर, इफ यू आर ऑलरेडी मैरिड and you come across a very intelligent, very beautiful girl, should should you marry again? तो देन इन्होंने बड़ा ही बढ़िया जवाब दिया। उन्होंने कहा, सर, एम आई रियली वेडेड टू रेलवेज? तो दैट वाज एनफ टू से। और उसके बाद इनके 246 मार्क्स आए हैं। तो आप बड़े भाग्यशाली हैं कि आपका पहला सत्र ये ले रहे हैं। और मैं इसके बाद कुछ अगर बचेगा तो मैं आपके बीच में रखूंगा। तभी मैं मधुकर जी को इनवाइट कर रहा हूं, जो पिछले 20 साल से और आप जैसे जितने प्रतिभागी हैं उनका बहुत भला करते हैं। उसका पुण्य तो इनको मिलेगा ही, और आपकी ओर से भी इनको बहुत अच्छी दुआएं मिल रही हैं। बहुत बढ़िया काम इनका हो रहा है। मधुकर भगत जी प्लीज।
धन्यवाद भाई साहब। आप लोग सभी से मुखातिब होके आपके सामने आके बड़ा अच्छा लगता है। सबसे पहले तो आप सभी को बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं। और मैं देख रहा हूं कि कोई 100 व्यक्ति हैं परिवीक्षार्थी जो सक्सेसफुल और आज हमारे साथ ज्वाइन हुए हैं। तो सबसे पहले तो इस सेशन को हम लोग इंटरैक्टिव रखें। हम लोग वर्चुअली जुड़ रहे हैं, वैसे फिजिकली जुड़ते आमने सामने रहते तो बड़ा अच्छा रहता। मैं कोशिश करता हूं कि मैं अपनी स्क्रीन शेयर करूं। कुछ टेक्निकल समस्याएं मेरे एंड पे भी आ रही हैं। अगर मैं स्क्रीन शेयर कर पाता हूं तो अपनी बात को ज्यादा अच्छे से रख पाऊंगा, नहीं तो फिर जैसा संभव होगा वैसा हम करेंगे।
मधुकर जी,
और
इंग्लिश में भी कुछ बच्चे जैसे इंग्लिश।
हाँ, तो मैं इंग्लिश में ही बोलूंगा आगे। अभी तो let me begin in English again. Heartiest congratulations to all of you who have joined over here, and very warm welcome to you. Heartiest congratulations because you have created, you have successfully crossed 2 hurdles, and which is not a mean feat. It is absolutely fabulous, and very warm welcome to all of you in this session. And I'm trying to make a presentation which will help you, which will guide you for your preparation for the interview. Let me see if I can just give me a couple of minutes, if I can set up the presentation. Otherwise, I'll continue from my end over here. So just give me a couple of minutes. ये राजू जी, ये शेयर स्क्रीन होगा, आप एनेबल कर पाएंगे वहां से शेयर स्क्रीन, या मुझे यहां से करना है?
सुकृत,
आप मैं आपको कोर्स बना देती
या
हूँ।
तो मैं पीपीटी आपको व्हाट्सएप कर दूं, आप उधर से
नहीं,
शेयर कर पाएंगे।
आप भी कर सकते हैं, आप भी कर
आप
सकते
कर सकते हैं, आप
हैं।
कर
बॉस
सकते
बना
हैं।
दें।
अच्छा, एक मिनट
और
में देख।
आपको व्हाट्सएप भी कर दूं।
मैं आपको ना व्हाट्सएप कर देता हूँ, क्योंकि यहाँ मेरे एंड पे तो थोड़ी समस्या आ रही है। राजू जी, मैंने आपको ये व्हाट्सएप कर दिया है, एक बार आप देख लें, तब तक मैं अपनी बात को आगे बढ़ाता हूँ। अगर आप लोड कर सके, मेरे एंड पे नहीं हो पा रहा है। First of all, let me tell about myself. I am presently working as Additional Director General in the Income Tax Department. And am I audible and am I visible?
Good morning, sir. Yes, you are perfectly audible and visible.
Okay, good. राजू जी, एक बार देखेंगे स्क्रीन आ रहा है क्या? हेलो, हाँ राजू जी, आप हैं वहां?
जी।
एक पीपीटी आपको भेजी है, वो आप अपलोड कर पाएंगे?
हाँ सर, मैं शेयर कर रही हूँ।
ये स्क्रीन देखेंगे कैसे हटेगा? हट नहीं रहा हमारा। इसको हटाइए, शेयर करिए यहाँ से। वापस नहीं जा रहा है ना? शेयर कर दीजिए, शेयर बंद कर दीजिए, आप उधर से शेयर कर लीजिए। ये वापस स्क्रीन में नहीं जा रहा है ना? यस, ऑनलाइन कुछ दिक्कत आ रही है। ये जूम में कुछ प्रॉब्लम आ रही है राजू जी। ये हमारा स्क्रीन तो आपको दिख रहा होगा, लेकिन मैं वापस आप लोग को नहीं देख पा रहा हूँ।
अच्छा,
जी शेयर कर।
मैं एक बार ना फिर से आप लोग के साथ मैं ऑफ करके आता हूँ। प्लीज आप 1 मिनट के लिए वेट करें प्लीज। चलिए, अब सब ठीक लग रहा है और प्रेजेंटेशन आप काइंडली शेयर कर दें।
ये दिख रहा है क्या screen?
वर्क शुरू करें। So I can see quite a few participants on my screen. I can see Nishant, Tulsi, Prince, and others. So warm welcome to all of you and heartiest congratulations once again. I hope I am audible and visible, and we can begin with our session now uninterrupted. So about myself, I was telling I'm Madhukar Bhagat. I'm presently working in the Income Tax Department as Additional Director General. I'm 1995 batch. I'm here definitely because I've taken the examination, because yes, I have been successful. That's fine. Many people are successful. As Santosh ji put that, yes, I have scored 82% in my interview, and 80% is usually considered a glass ceiling. So what I did was perhaps right, but that's a long time back. But I've been associated with the interview guidance program since quite long, and I also happen to author several books for civil services, around 8-10. You may have read it or you may have come across it. It was related to concise CSAT. It was related to GS paper 2, general preparation. And of course, for the civil services interview, the book Civil Services Interview, How to Excel was one of my first books in public domain. So do we have the presentation, or Raju ji? Can we were able to upload the screen, no, or the problem with Zoom continues?
No, it is available on my profile, but I have pinned you to the page. So
Okay, you have pinned me to the page, but I can't see the presentation myself. If I can see the presentation, then it will be better, because I'll flow according to it.
I don't know whether it's because presentation is going on from my side.
Participants, are you able to see it?
On my profile, are you able to see the slide?
No, I'm not able to see it.
Okay. ठीक है.
So no problem, you continue to try, and let me begin over here.
So Kriti ji, Anshul Agarwal here. If you can also share on my WhatsApp.
I'm sending you. I'm
Okay,
sending.
okay. I can give it a.
So how many, let me ask a question first. How many of you have appeared for the civil services interview before? Is there anybody? You can just say, yes, I have, and you can maybe respond, or you can switch on your audio and you can speak, or maybe you can just type in a message.
Yes,
Aditya Vikram has.
Ji sir, Raman Patel.
Okay, Raman, nice to hear you. So you have also appeared for this interview?
Ji sir.
Wonderful. And some of you are already selected for civil services, just to get your profile right. So anybody who is already in one of those services, who has appeared, has been successful?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good, good. So at least some of you are there who are a part of the services, and some of you who already have the experience. That's very fine.
Sir, is it visible now?
Yeah, I
shared-
think it is visible to me.
Okay. How about
Good.
other participants?
Yes, it is visible properly.
Okay, so you
Great.
can go
जी
please
सर
to the next,
Visible, sir. It is visible.
go to the next slide, please. I'll
Yes,
just
sir.
keep on seeing
Yeah,
next
just
slide,
a-
and you can please keep
yeah.
on moving forward.
Yeah, let me move it. Give me a second, sir.
No problem, no problem. Take your time. I have already taken too much of your time because of the technical reasons Zoom is misbehaving today. So as I was saying that I have authored books. This is the Civil Services Interview book. I would recommend if you have time. It's a thin book and it guides you for the civil services preparation. It has done for the at last 15 years, and we've got positive feedbacks. I'll just later on briefly cover what are the topics discussed. Next screen. But apart from that, I have also authored other books. Next screen, these are some of the books you may have or may not have come across. Next screen, please. I have written several articles in the newspapers, and I would recommend that the Hindu series of articles, if you Google Madhukar Kumar Bhagat, Civil Services Interview, Hindu, or simply Madhukar Kumar Bhagat, Hindu, so you will get this series of 5 articles. And there are 2 articles in Hindustan Times. These are worth reading, and this will help you. The first is Test of Personality, Biting the Silver Bullet, how to tackle the personal profile segment, what makes your profile tick, and there was another article which is not there in the in this. Next slide, please. Right? But let me first begin as to what is evaluated in a personality test or in an interview. Now, having written my book, Civil Services Interview, I met a chairman of UPSC, and that was around 12, 13 years, 14 years ago. And it was Mr. Hota. Mr. Hota had been a chairman as well as member of the UPSC for 6, 7 years. And I asked him, sir, what is that one most important thing that you want to see in the aspirants for a civil services interview? Or what is that thing that you know that is key as far as testing the personality is concerned? Mr. Hota thought for a while and he said, as a panel, we want to see how the candidate thinks. And just a few days back, in an interaction with senior officers of the various services with whom we were interacting about the personality test program, who will be a part of the panel, who will be taking your personality test mock interviews, I was telling that just a couple of years ago, I met another chairman of UPSC that was 13, 14 years later. And I asked him the same question, that is, what is the most important thing you want to see? And I was surprised to find, and rather I was not surprised to find the same answer. That is, we want to see, हम ये देखना चाहते हैं कि कैंडिडेट सोचते कैसे हैं. यानी that is, thought is the most important thing that is being evaluated in a civil services interview. Essentially, thoughts are a key to a person's personality, and it is the thought which metamorphoses into actions. And therefore, actions are essentially a subset of your thoughts. In this process of preparation for civil services, you have been emphasizing in the past about knowledge, about time management, about skills of communications, about written skills, about memorizing things, and about how to give answers in 250 words, how to cram up things. But you really have to ask yourself, what I expressed were my own thoughts? You have got a diverse range of information which is available with you. Your knowledge base is quite diverse. You have read through general knowledge, you have read through Indian polity, you have read current affairs, you have read the views in the Hindu and the Frontlines and the Indian Express. Is it the most important reading material available right now? Is it what you guys are still going through? Okay, good. So you can switch on and say yes, there is no problem. Hearing your voice, others will also say yes. Unless there is a background noise which disturbs.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's
Yes,
good.
sir.
That's much better. Otherwise, it
Yes,
looks
sir.
I'm talking to a screen, and and my own voice is reverberating. So that's nice. Yes. So these are the magazines and the newspapers which were there in our time also, and these are there which are used by the aspirants also. And these carry the views. You have the Yojanas and the Economic Times, but then you have to ask yourself, what are my thoughts on an issue? And this is the most important thing for the next 1 month, 1.5 months that you have to do. Now, how do we go about it? Is something which we have to discuss. So, my first point of today is begin thinking and develop your thoughts, right? So, the first takeaway for you for today is begin thinking and develop your thoughts. Next slide, please. So somebody has requested ki bilingual rakhiye for easy to understand. Okay, the most of my talk will be in English, but I will summarize. So begin thinking and develop your thought means that aapki soch kya hai? What is your thought? You start developing that. Apne soch ko aap parishkrit kare, develop your thoughts. Now, I always like to say, ask. Thoughts is fine, but eventually every candidate wants to know what is being asked in an interview. Interview में पूछते क्या हैं? And essentially, the thought is reflected by our responses, by our answers, and the answers is in response to the question. It's not that that there is a instrument which is in the hands of the interviewer that they will measure your thoughts. It's not just by seeing you they will assess your personality, and you have to reply. And reply to what? Reply to a question. So the most important thing for us is also to understand what do they ask in the interview. पूछते क्या है, पूछते क्या है. In our times, when one candidate used to come out, the other used to make a beeline over him. अरे क्या पूछा, क्या पूछा. I understand the system is different now. Is there an interaction with you as soon as the candidate comes out and with the fresh candidate? Is it there? Or
No, sir.
No. So it's a loss and it's a gain also, because sometimes the response of the candidates can be pretty unnerving. अरे पता नहीं कैसे question पूछ रहा. I don't know how question, what sort of question these interview board is asking. So it's good and bad. But I say often that ask is an acronym. So we can move to the next slide. ASK, that's why I have written in 3 bold letters. The letter A, the letter S, and letter K, and you may like to take note of it. The letter A is essentially a test of our aptitude, our abilities, and our attitude. What is aptitude? Aptitude is whether do we have that aptitude to become a civil servant? Do we have in a civil servant the aptitude to be an administrator? Or do we have the aptitude to be a diplomat? Do we have the aptitude to be a police officer? Or to be a tax personnel, a tax collector, a policy expert? What sort of aptitude do we have? Do we have the ability to think? And here comes thoughts. And do we have the ability to think originally? Do we have the ability to analyze, to break our issue into subparts? Because issues have got subparts. Another ramification is, do we have the ability to think holistically? That is, we take the issue as a whole. And do we have the ability to analyze objectively, see what are the various perspectives of a particular issue? But above all, are we positive? Do you think being positive is important in civil services? Why is that? What are your views? What are your thoughts? Let me ask you. I can see Nishant, I can see Tulsi, I can see name Arjinder. So I'll if not any others, I will have to ask my questions direct towards 3 of you who are visible on my screen. Otherwise, I would have walked to somebody and woken him up. Hey, please answer. That's what I usually do. But here I cannot walk up to you. आपको मैं पहुंच नहीं सकता हूं आपके पास, तो इसलिए तुलसी आप बताइए, what do you think? Positive होना important है?
Yes, sir. It is very much important to be positive because the challenges, the diversity India possesses, and we are going to be the administrator, we are going to be the servant, and we are going to be the officer. So we
Yeah,
should be have positive aptitude in ourselves so that we can
absolutely.
be a problem solver,
Hmm.
and we should be our duty conscious. So all
Hmm.
this positivity helps to be a positive and a people's bureaucrat.
Absolutely. Wonderfully responded. I couldn't have put any better. And sometimes when we see certain issues which are too problematic, we tend to be cynical. And we say we cannot be, have a solution to it. There is no practical solution. If you, as a prospective bureaucrat, tend to become cynical, then why should you not be? You should be selected over somebody else who's more positive. Should you be self-deprecating? Should you be defeatist? Sir, मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ? Sir, what can I do? I am a cog in the wheel. Then shouldn't somebody else who believes in himself be selected over you? Next slide, please. So here is a thought for you that first we have to have aptitude, we have to have abilities, we have to have a positive attitude. The letter S, and as you can see on the screen, S stands for skills of communication. How do thoughts get conveyed? They are conveyed in terms of words. They are conveyed in terms of our body language. And therefore, to convey our thoughts, it's not, we have not human society moved that we have a device where our thoughts are directly transmitted to the other person's, not even with the current AI, right? So our communication system is not mind to mind, it is through the physical medium of speaking. And therefore, verbal communication becomes very important. But whatever we are saying, non-verbal communication, which is subconscious communication, is also reflective of whether we are actually believing in what we are saying. And therefore, the two forms of communication, verbal communication and non-verbal communication, is very important. On the issue of thoughts, I have given a chapter in the book, I'll discuss later, as well as on the issue of verbal communication. How do we hone verbal communication? What are the things which is to be done about non-verbal communications? I cannot, discuss the whole chapter. I'll be discussing a very few points, but these are there in the book. Next slide, please. K, yes, that is the base element, and everybody agrees with it, isn't it? Does anybody disagree? Huh? Or do you agree? Do
Yes,
you
I
agree,
agree.
Nisha?
Yes, sir.
We
So K
agree,
is
sir.
the knowledge element. And our last 1.5 years, 2 years, 3 years preparation is all about knowledge. Now, supposing somebody is going to evaluate a thought, they are going to ask a question. And that question has to be through means of communication. But about what? About what they are going to ask. And if they are going to ask about something, I should have a knowledge of it. So, Nishant, I am asking you a question. Can you come alive? So, what is your background, Nishant? Is it art background? Is it science background?
Sir, I have a science background. I am a doctor.
You are a doctor.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now, Nishant, if I ask you about the latest change in the Nyaya Sanhita, which exempts doctors from the malified issue as far as trial, when they say supposing has done a misconduct, medical negligence, then would I be justified in asking you this question?
Yes, sir.
Because you are a doctor.
Yes.
Supposing I was to ask this question to an arts graduate, what would you say? Would I be justified or would I not be justified as an interviewer?
Sir, in my opinion, sir, you can ask the question to him also.
You can ask the question, very correct, because this is something which is connected with the entire society. So as a society, as a patient, even if I'm not a doctor, I do have a locus.
Yes.
Now you see how clear it is becoming that what should we have the knowledge about? Either I should be in direct touch with the subject, it should be connected with me, or I should be connected as a common ordinary citizen. But supposing, Nishant, I was to ask you about, hey, what are your views about general theory of relativity? And have you heard about Hawking? And what is Einstein's general theory of relativity? What do you say? What would you say? Is it directly connected with you? Does the interviewer have a direct, locus standi as far as this is concerned?
No, sir.
So, Princey, I can see you. Good, I can see you, so I can ask questions from you. Huh? Princey, are you there?
Yes, sir. Good
Oh,
afternoon,
okay,
sir.
good. Good afternoon, Princey. So, what is your profile?
Sir, I'm from Lucknow and my optional is economics.
Economics, wonderful. So, Princey, if I am to ask you about RBI's economic policy, there has been allegations that RBI is trying to maintain the Indian currency in a very narrow bandwidth, which has been alleged by the US report, and RBI has retorted to it. So, do you think you should be having the knowledge of it?
Yes,
Yes, no, no.
yes, sir. After reading the articles, I will be able to answer.
So I have a locus, and therefore these are the areas of knowledge which is important. I wouldn't be justified that, if I'm to ask you about a general theory of relativity to you or to Nishant, but maybe Tejaswa is from physics background, I would be justified. Tejaswa, are you from physics background? You are mute, Tejaswa.
Yes, sir.
Huh?
Yes, sir. Sir, I'm
Oh,
from
then I
civil
can hear me
engineering.
properly. I can see faces and I can understand.
Yes, sir.
Good, good. No, no.
I'm from civil
You are from?
civil engineering, sir.
So 1 and 3 have to be from that background, na? So,
Yeah, sir.
so I just got lucky. Good, good. So knowledge is very important, but what sort of knowledge? Can we go to the next slide? What sort of knowledge? Knowledge which is connected with our profile. But the next question arises, okay, you have said, sir, that thoughts is very important. Thoughts are evaluated by my skills of communication. Skills of communication will come in play when I have to answer. Answer will be in response to a question, and the questions will be connected through my profile or of what, as a common citizen, I am expected to answer. So the next question arises is how to answer, right? How to answer. This is a very important element. So first important thing is that supposing Tejaswa, am I getting your name right?
Yeah, sir.
Supposing Tejaswa, I am to ask you a question about civil engineering and I stop over there. What is coming in your mind? Feel free
Sir,
to respond.
I am in anticipation of the question of what
You
it
are in
is going to be.
anticipation of the question. When I said civil engineering, some thoughts clicked in your mind. Okay, it is connected with the civil engineering. But you are not clear about the question, but still you are thinking about it. Now, supposing, Princey, I am to ask you about the issue of pollution in Delhi. Now, what is coming in your mind?
Sir, PUSA, solution for stubble
Right.
burning.
So now you see what I'm trying to drive at, that even when the interviewer is asking a question, the dynamics is such that your mind starts, first of all, listening. So one part of the mind is listening. Second part is understanding. Okay, what is the question going to be about? I divulged only a small part to Tejas about civil, but I divulged more about the question to Princey, pollution in Delhi. And therefore, what is going to be solution? The mind is thinking ahead of the question, right? This is the dynamics of mind. But to answer the question correctly, you have to at times silent your mind and listen to the question very carefully, because answering is beginning not with the first word you utter, but with the first word the interviewer is uttering. With the first word the interviewer is uttering, you are trying to understand the question and you are trying to answer, frame an answer. Therefore, listen carefully. That is the most important thing. For example, if I am to say, Princey, you would be knowing of the problem of pollution in Delhi. Now, do you think it is a seasonal problem? Right? So I'm not expecting a reply from you. Right? Now, I'm trying to give a response. if I am very well prepared with the answer, or, I can say, sir, definitely it is a seasonal problem. It is a problem which is caused in the winters at this particular period of time, in the period of November in Delhi. There is burning of the agrarian waste, what is we call parali, and there is also the problem of temperature inversion. But I can say, Princey, but how about the other factors? Yes, sir, there are other factors, and these are the factors pertaining to the transportation problem, the other inherent problems of pollution. So you see, what I'm driving is that first you have to listen to the question carefully. Second, before you begin answering, do not start immediately shooting. But before you start answering, keep a moment of pause and try to understand what is the ramification of the question. The question can be about what are the causes of pollution in Delhi. The question can be about the seasonal factors which are contributing to Delhi. Or the question can be what is the solution to the problem of pollution in Delhi. Or the question can be why have we not been able to find a solution to the problem of pollution in Delhi. When I wrote my book in 2007, even before that, problem of pollution was in Delhi, and it's still continuing. When CNG was made mandatory in around 2001-2 by Supreme Court, in the public transportation, there was hue and cry. Still, there was issue of pollution in Delhi. So you see, the same issue, the same question has got several ramifications. And therefore, you have to listen carefully, you have to paraphrase yourself, and you have to understand what is that portion, what is that aspect about which the question is being asked. But supposing if I go on a tangential or I take only one aspect of the question, then what is going to happen? Nishant, can you answer that for me? Supposing I take only one aspect.
Yes.
So what is going to be ramification if only I have to take one aspect? Supposing I talk about problem of pollution in Delhi, and the question is what are the factors of pollution in Delhi, and I talk about the seasonal factor. Then what is going to be the harm or what is going to be good?
Sir, it would seem that I have only partial knowledge about the issue.
Right. Very correct. Absolutely correct. So next slide, please. So yes, so it would appear I have only a partial knowledge, and the interviewer, as I said, the dynamics of the interview would say, okay, how about the pollution of Delhi in the other parts of the year? Is it below average? Is it very good? It is no pollution. Then maybe as a response will be said, sir, there are pollution problems in other parts of the year also, maybe apart from the rainy season when the rain is able to clear the pollution. Then why is that pollution? Sir, there are the other factors. This is how the dynamics go. Sir, there is the problem of pollution in Delhi because the large vehicular pollution problem. There is the problem of pollution because we have the Gangetic Belt issue is there. And we have around 1.3 million vehicles, 13 million vehicles which are registered in Delhi. There is a large floating population of vehicles. And because of that, we have problem of pollution in Delhi. So basically, different aspects of the same issue or different perspectives, which we are not able to communicate. Now, you have to begin with the most important point when we are answering a question. So if I am to ask about what are the causes of pollution problem and what is solution, then Tejas, what would you say?
Sir, I can present a lot of options which are there. For example, the foremost is the stubble burning problem, which is there, which directly influences. Then there is the particulate matter problem due to road vehicular traffic. Then there is Badarpur thermal power plant, which is also responsible. So,
So you are quite correct, Tejas. So supposing I am asked about what are the causes of pollution in Delhi, and I give some sort of this response, and I want you people to evaluate. That, sir, yes, you are right. There is a problem of pollution in Delhi, and we have the problem of the stubble burning, and which we call the parali, and because of which there is this particular problem. And we also have the problem of temperature inversion, and this problem particularly becomes acute in the month of the winter. And yes, sir, we have not been able to find a solution to this problem. There is legislation in place. We have legislation that stubborn burning is banned, and then there is fine which is also levied on the farmers. But actually, sir, it's an issue of enforcement, and there is a need for political will. Now, if I give this response, I am covering one aspect of this. And the interviewer would say, but how about the issue of the vehicular pollution? Do you think it is a factor? And I would say, yes, sir, definitely is a factor. And I was in fact coming to it. So I would suggest that a better form of answering would be, when I speak about how to answer, is that I go along like this, that yes, sir, there are multiple factors which are the causes of pollution. And there are possible solutions. The first factor, as far as the season factor is concerned, is the burning of the parali or the stubble burning. The temperature inversion is the second factor, sir, which is again a seasonal factor, which is in the winters. An important underlying factor is, sir, the large number of vehicular pollution, which is there, the power stations, the industries, that apart from that, the Indo-Gangetic plain and other factors are there. So if I'm permitted to elaborate about the pollution problem which is in their winters, and there is other problem which is there in the summers. But as far as solutions are concerned, sir, blah, blah, I can go on, depending on how much time the interviewer gives to me. So my suggestion to you is that if there are several points to a problem, begin with the most important point first, right? See what are the 3 most important point, 5 most important point. And where you are answering, if there are multiple aspects of the question, first was the problem part of pollution, second is the solution part of the problem. Then you have to keep at the back of the mind that, look, I have to also come to that. And that is why that moment of silence before you begin answering becomes very important to structure your thoughts, right? Okay. Views and opinion. Often there are questions about views and opinion. So Nishant, can you come in? What do you mean by views? What are your views about views?
It is very hard to explain, but views mean views mean my personal thinking process about something.
Okay. And Princey, how about you? You have any opinion about views? What are views?
Sir, views are the different dimensions of the topic, whether it is positive or negative, and the different views, like different dimension covering the topic. Opinion is something what I feel, what my personal views about the topic, like opinion about the topic.
Very correct. So any other person apart from these 3 who I can see on the screen would like to come in? Your reaction to what are views and what is opinion? So you can speak, even if you're not visible, you can speak. iPad to everyone. So views or thoughts of diverse sections of society. Yes, iPad.
Sir, I think views and opinions are very similar.
Okay.
Yeah, it's because both of them invoke a reaction in us, and be it related to different dimensions or any positive or negative feeling we encounter with it. So yeah, they are complementary to each other. They go hand in hand.
No problem. You need not, Malhotra is the name which is given. You need not feel sorry at all. I was just pulling your leg. A bit of mirth at times is good. Otherwise, the sessions becomes too dry, right? So if I pull somebody's leg, there is no
afternoon,
Good afternoon. Please go ahead.
Sir, views are the different standpoints about a particular topic, and opinion is the one standpoint to which myself is associated with.
Absolutely correct, all of you. You are absolutely right. Bang on the target. So supposing I have got this mobile phone. Now, if I see suddenly something has happened on the screen, am I visible? I didn't touch anything. Okay. Yeah, I am back. So supposing I say a mobile phone, if I see the mobile phone from this perspective, or maybe I'm holding a cup, right? If I see a top view of the cup, it appears like a circle, right? So if I see this particular view, it gives a shape like this. So when I talk physically, I talk about the different perspective of the views. The different perspective is essentially a view. We have the plan view, we have the elevation view, as they just will be very, from civil engineering background, very happy to say. And we have the isometric view. When we talk about a particular issue, views are essentially the different perspectives, right? But opinion can mean, a stand on a particular issue, right? So views does not mean that it should not lead to an opinion. And opinion as stand does not mean that I should not take into account the different perspective of the issues. Although they appear to be synonymous, but there is a fine difference between views and opinion. When I'm asked to talk about a view, I should definitely talk about the different perspective of the issue. But it should, if there is an issue where I'm supposed to take a stand, it should also come with a stand as to, given the pros and cons, what would I suggest? Because that is the role of a bureaucrat, right? For example, if I am to take India is not a signatory to CTBT, am I right, or has there been any changes? Is
You are right.
India signatory to CTBT Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty? To Civil Nuclear Cooperation Agreement ago, it entered into a 1-2-3 agreement. There was a one-time waiver given. Supposing I am to talk about this issue, then there are various perspectives of this issue. And if as a decision maker, I have to take about whether should India enter into the civil nuclear cooperation agreement with other countries, then we have the issue of an economist. Eventually, why do you want? What is the energy cost? And what is this cost vis-a-vis, the current energy cost? Other solutions, green energy costs. Environmentalists will say, okay, there are two perspectives. Although, from the global warming perspective, it is green, but even the best of the nations, like we had the Fukushima disaster in Japan, it is fraught with severe risks. So there are not many nations, advanced nations, who go for it, right? And after the Fukushima disaster, many nations are wary about it. Politicians. Now, politicians have their own perspective. That is the perspective of the electorate. If there is an investment, politician will want, okay, why not? If there are many electorates in which it can be felt, hey, please bring it to my electorate. But what is the common man's perspective? If it is, like the Kundankulam plant in Tamil Nadu, it's happening over here, people will say there will be displacement, but as happening in some other constituency, okay, good for the country. So different people have got different perspectives. A bureaucrat, a decision maker for that matter, a political executive has to harness these different perspectives, and he has to come up with an issue. Okay, why do I want to suggest that yes, India should go for a civil nuclear cooperation agreement? So eventually we have to come with an opinion. Those people in Hindi, views and opinion क्या है कि भाई हमें अपने विचारों को, उसके अलग अलग पहलुओं को भी समझना है, और हमारा स्टैंड क्या है, हमारा मत किस पक्ष पर है, हमें उसको भी समझना है, right? Now, views are important. What others say is important, but your views are very important. I remember when I was taking the interview, there was this OBC reservation issue. And as time passes, how still the issues remain the same? We again have the reservations issues. And at that time, I was asked this question that what is your stand about the reservation for the OBCs? And I had said that Supreme Court has already given its verdict. That was almost 30 years back, 28 years back. And the member said, forget about the Supreme Court judgment. What do you think about this issue? And that is why I say your views are important, right? And this will again and again happen. About some issue, you will try to take shelter in somebody else's views. But then the interview board will want that what is you thinking, what is your views about it. Now, many a times you have a dilemma. A dilemma is that, okay, my view is being asked, but is my view correct? How do I evaluate that my view is correct? So Tejas, I'm giving you a tough task. What do you think? What is your opinion as to how do I evaluate myself as to the correctness of my view? Till I have some warm water, you can fill the gap.
Yes, sir. Sir, can I be given a situation over which I have to evaluate an exact problem that I have to decide?
I give you the freedom. You suggest a situation, you give an answer.
Okay, sir. So, sir, we can elaborate on the previous argument given by you, the OBC reservation. So,
Yes.
regardless of whatever the judgment of Supreme Court is, what should be my personal stand on the OBC reservation?
Right.
So, sir, the three parameters are visible to me. In regard to those parameters, I will try to explain.
Okay.
So, in terms of constitution, sir, there are articles which call for representation to the socially and economically backward classes. So, in that terms, OBC reservation is justified according to me. Secondly, large good for largest number of people. So, during the Mandal Commission issue, there was an argument that OBC compromise around 51% of the total population of the country. So, if they are being provided reservation, it will help a larger majority of the country. And thirdly, on logic and reasoning, so I would say that reservation has been a part and parcel of Indian political representation system. So it is nothing wrong in expanding it, provided the limits are taken care of. For example, there is administrative efficiency and there is the cap of 50%.
You are right. So basically, you have read well, and this is the advantage I have, that I have the framework, but this is the disadvantage. You are also able to see my thoughts and my framework, which is, better in a one-to-one, where I'm able to surprise you. But here there are no surprises once the slide comes in. Okay. Yes. So this is a triple test which I devised, which I wrote an article in Hindu also. This is a very important test which helps you guide. Your guidance. Solution you will be faced in this process with maybe tens, maybe hundreds of questions where you have a dilemma. And you, in discussion with others, will have to. But what are the parameters? The first parameter is that if this is the solution, this is what I'm suggesting. For example, if I talk about the hydel projects in the Northeast, now this is an area where there is a give and take, where can be a controversy, when there can be an issue of environment versus economy. So now, how do I go about it? Whatever is the solution I'm suggesting, first of all, is it in conformity with the existing government rules, right? Rules is delegated legislation. But do you think rules are sacrosanct? Yes, no, or don't know. Anybody apart from these three who have been...
Sir, I think, good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I think rules are also subject to the changing nature of the society and the needs of the society and the times.
Right.
So they must be in conformity with these, I would feel, social morality of the times.
Right. So see, the rules are not sacrosanct. So we cannot simply say that if rules are there which support my view, this is one step ahead. This is a necessary test, but this is not a sufficient test, I would say. Rules are subsidiary to the legislation, but even legislation is not sacrosanct, right? And we have seen that 3 bills have been passed and which are awaiting president's accent, and then they will become laws, and we will have laws which have been more than 400 years, they will be gone, right? So even laws are not sacrosanct. Then what is sacrosanct? Is constitution sacrosanct? Is constitution unamendable?
No, sir.
Certain values are uniform, sir. on
Certain
which
basic nature, as Supreme Court has said, I don't tinker with the basic nature of the Constitution.
Sir.
But then even Constitution is not sacrosanct. But if my views find support either in the rules or in the laws or in the Constitution or in all, then there is a conformity that yes, I am going in the right direction. But supposing I have to further travel, is it for the good of the people? Right? There was a movie called Thor. So have you seen 3, 4 years, 5 years back, there was a movie of this famous Avenger series. 5 years back, anybody remembers that movie?
Yes, sir.
And that movie has the scene that Asgard or something, that their city has been completely destroyed.
Yes, sir.
And and then the last scene is Thor is not the city, Thor is the people. Asgard is not the city, Asgard is the people. That is what Thor says. He is the king. So the most important aspect of a country is the people. Therefore, whatever we are doing for the good of the people. The laws, the rules, the constitution that have been framed for the good of the people. Now, there's always going to be a conflict. There is going to be a section of society for which there is a good in any decision. And it is possible that that action is mutual with other sections of the society. A very easy decision to take place. If I take the economic concept of iso-utility, there is utility A on X, Y axis and utility B on X axis. And there is an iso-utility curve. Then if I increase the utility of one on one side of the curve, the utility of the other one goes down. But there are certain points where the utility of or the goodness of one section of the society can be increased without changing the goodness or the utility of the other section. Here, the decision making is very essential and very easy. Now, as far as things which are for the good of the poor, it is not causing any harm to the rich, right? So it appears that very easy to take. But supposing I want to launch schemes which appear to be for the good of the people, but which are not good from the perspective of economy, which are causing for heavier taxation, then we are drawing from the limited resources of the society, and that starts getting questioned. Right? So here comes a dilemma that you cannot have all decisions which are very easy to take from the Pareto optimality point of view, that there is a good for everybody, or there is good for one but no harm for other. And many decisions as a decision maker will be such that there is a give for a certain section, there is some take for a certain section, and there we have to again come back to this issue that certain laws are there, our constitution is there. For example, to make things very simple and clear, if it calls for a decision, calls for a good of 100 people, but the sacrifice of life of one person, is that permitted? Yes, no, don't know. So then the largest good of largest number of people, how do we evaluate it? We have to again go back to the principle of conformity with the laws. The law does not say that for the sake of one person, you sacrifice the other person. But how about when we are fighting an enemy at the battlefield? That soldier, he is going to the battlefield. He knows that, look, I may have to sacrifice, I may not come back. And he is doing it for the good of those hundreds and thousands. Then how does it get sanctified? Am I able to evoke thought in you? Am I able to disturb your composure?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So you see, the triple test is not so simple. It is extremely dynamic. And therefore, we have to see a plethora of things. That's why third thing comes, test on the touchstone of logic and reasoning. You know, for the purposes of fighting an enemy, which is sanctified by the constitution, which is sanctified by the law, that person has got a hope he can fight the enemy and come back alive. And there is a difference which I can see on the basis of logic and reasoning. But as far as, as in the old days, it used to happen, Ek tha Gada aur Faladat Khan, the famous this thing, you have to sacrifice yourself for the sake of the society. That is not permitted. And therefore, it is through the touchstone of logic and reasoning that we have to differentiate the situations. We have to keep in mind the larger good of larger number of people. And we also have to keep in mind the rules, above it the laws, above it the constitution, and above it the goodness of the people. So how intricately the three things in this triple test are linked together. So any questions up till now? If you don't have, I will ask a question.
Sir, I have one.
Okay.
Sir, how
Not
do you...
really speaking, but the voice was, a male voice from a friend from Northeast. Is it correct?
Yes, sir. I am from Assam, Bhaswat.
Oh, good, good. Nice to hear you. What's your name?
Bhaswat, sir.
Okay, please go ahead.
Sir, how do you apply this test to the alleged targeted killing that are going on? Like recently.
Where is alleged? Where alleged target killing is taking place?
Sir, like various terrorists are getting killed, like as per the.
Okay, so you mean the question can be asked that whether it is sanctified?
Yes,
whether
sir.
it
Yes,
is-
sir.
So
Yes.
what is your views? See, I don't have to give interview,
Ah.
but I have to help you to take the interview.
Yes, sir. Sir, as per me, since our official position is against it, so yeah, we should be saying that it's not justified. Even my view is that we should always prefer peace unless and until it's not an option anymore.
So is it in conformity with the constitution and extant laws?
So Constitution does not say anything about it. So.
Doesn't it not say Article 21?
Oh, sir, it does, but does it talk about people outside the country? That I'm not sure about.
So what is it is saying? It is saying that anybody whose life has to be terminated has to be done through the due process of law.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir. Right.
So is it in conformity with the due process of law?
Sir, I'm not.
I'm only trying to help you to understand how do you answer a question. And this is a very good example because many of you will be having the doubts as to how to answer a question. So yes, Article 21 provides right to freedom of life, but that right can be taken away through a due process of law. But that due process of law goes through a process of trial. And if our official stand is that, look, we do not indulge in that, then we do not indulge in that. Right?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Isn't it?
Yes,
And
sir.
here it is in conformity with the constitutional law. It is also conformity with the test of logic and reasoning that we cannot create a state of anarchy that anybody, non-state actors can start doing certain things, take away what even the state cannot take. Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now my question is that, look, I had said that your reply should contain most important points first. Now I have gone through half a way of my talk. What are the most important points which I have spoken up till now? Few points, everybody come with single point. What do you think is the most important point for you? Or a good important point?
So triple test, in my opinion.
Okay, good. Anything else? Other
So
important
for me, what they were looking for, like the thinking process that you.
thinking process, thoughts? Okay. So just words, triple test, thoughts, anything else?
Sir,
We
we should have our own opinion.
Views, opinion.
We
Okay,
should-
anything else?
So active listening.
Listening
Active
carefully, sir.
listening, very correct.
The informed opinion.
So listening very carefully.
Sir, multiple views on various topics, multiple dimensions.
Multiple dimensions, views and opinion.
And
Sir,
we should take a
decoding
pause
the
before answering.
acronym of
Think before answering, yes.
Sir, decoding the
Positive
acronym of
attitude.
ask.
Positive attitude,
Positive.
decoding. Yes.
Clarity of thoughts plus
Clarity.
prioritization.
So all these things are very important. These are desirable qualities which you have to try to inculcate, and this you should take note of. Next slide, please.
Sir, I have a doubt.
Hmm.
Sir, our thoughts keep evolving with time. And sir, our opinion also based on what we read and based on our surrounding. So, for example, as you said, the killing for army personnel, it is their duty. But for a civilian or for a bureaucrat, it is not up to the mark. Sir, again,
Absolutely.
yes, sir.
Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. So just I wanted to ask about the bureaucratic attitude. What should we like? In what direction should we think? For example, in currently, there are a lot of issues. For example, marital rape, same-sex marriage, or menstruation leave. People have different views based on the economists have different views. From social morality, it has a different perspective. Government has a different stance. So, like as a student, as in civil servant, like in future, as in bureaucratic attitude, in what direction should we think for about these particular issues?
See, your views, your opinion, your stand should be always be guided by the 3 tests. If you remember it, it will always help you. Let's take an issue. You name the issue. Take an issue of your choice.
Sir, same-sex marriage.
Same-sex marriage. Okay, fine. So the first issue arises is that of the triple test. Is it in conformity with the laws of the land?
Yes, sir. Right to equality, right to choice. But sir,
But
again, against right to privacy. Sorry, right to yes, sir, right to privacy.
so now issues are not very, always such clear. We have to again seek, when we evaluate the position of law, what is the clarity which is given by Supreme Court. You know, when we talk about same-sex marriage, when we talk about marriage, then marriage is not just about companionship or about coupling, right? And it is not about the physical aspect also. There is a plethora of rights, there is a bundle of rights which is entrusted by marriage and which Supreme Court has not been ready to give, right? And therefore we cannot say that our constitution permits. Rather, if you read more deeply, the laws do not permit. As far as homosexuality is concerned, it has only been decriminalized from the IPC. It doesn't mean that it has been made, same-sex marriage has also been made valid, and we should not try to equate both the things. So as far as the triple test is concerned, you see, legally it is not on the same footing. The other areas comes, is it for the larger good of the larger people? And it is not a very easy thing to say. You have the LGBTQs who will say, which is a minority over here, which will say that, sir, it is for good of us. There is a larger majority which does not see in conformity with the past traditions of the country, right? And that's why I said that it's never easy. There is a give and take. There is an issue of Pareto optimality. Where is that line, right? And therefore things keep on evolving. Now I'd like to say 2 things. First, quote S. Radhakrishnan, and he says, there was not a virtue which later on became a vice, and there was not a vice in the society which later on got accepted. The definitions of virtue and vice keeps on changing from time to time. Sati was sanctified at time in society. It was held, draconian, and now we cannot even think of. So the society keeps on changing. It keeps on evolving. To that extent, you are absolutely right. And therefore, when you have to think as a bureaucrat, you also have to think in terms of the current scenario. It will not clear your doubts. My answer should not clear your doubts. My answer should make you think about, because as I said, the most important thing in this interview process is not your answers, it's whether you apply yourself to thought. Because new questions will keep on coming in the interview board. And unless you develop that attitude, the ability to think, probe deep, read wide, you will not be able to answer the questions. Questions will not get repeated. It's not like मेंस कि साहब ये तो क्वेश्चन आ जाएगा, ये क्वेश्चन तो लड़ जाएगा. इंटरव्यू में ऐसा नहीं हो सकता, या हो भी सकता है, right?
Sir, I have a doubt.
So let's come to the doubts later on. You just doubt it, or you just jot it. Let me go ahead. Some doubts will automatically be cleared. How to prepare? So DAF, personal profile, definitely the most important. As I said, questions will arise if it is connected somehow to you through your personal profile, or you as a common citizen or a prospective bureaucrat is somehow connected with it. And what all comes over here? Of course, your domain of a candidate, which includes the state of domicile, which state I belong to, educational institutions, hobbies, interests, job experience, subject at graduation, optional, all are relevant. And here I have deliberately left one particular area of your DAF. Can anybody tell which area of DAF in this slide I have not mentioned and which is still important?
Hobbies.
Cadre and service preference.
Okay, cadre and service preferences. Yes. Okay. Anything
Parental
else?
information.
Position of leadership, sir.
That comes as a part of
Parental
experience.
information.
Okay. Parents, about that is there. There is a very important aspect of you which I have not mentioned over here, which is there in the DAF, and certain times the questions are called for, and that is your name and your date of birth. So you think it can be a trigger for a question? Somebody?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So the idea
Yes,
of what I
sir.
wanted to say, when can it be a trigger to a question?
Some national holiday or some very auspicious day,
Yes.
just citing to any religion or any minority, like
So anything which is pregnant about my name, my date of birth, or any aspect of my profile, which emerges out, which immediately attracts attention, which is connected with the current affairs, which is connected with what is happening in the society, that has a possibility to trigger a question. And therefore, how to prepare, looking at, have a look at your personal profile becomes very important. Work experience, extremely important if you have already worked, especially if more than 6 months have passed. If you have worked in the railways like I have, expect questions. If you have worked in the civil services and you have worked in the field, in the Group B services in the state, expect questions from there and prepare well. State and other towns and cities relevant if any poignant facts associated with it. Subjects become relevant, A, from the perspective of, revising the basics, that you should not have go in the board with the feeling, array many subjects revise nahi kiya. And B, if there is any particular area of your subject which is a news. So for Princey, there can be many subjects which is connected with the economy, which is in news, right? For Nishant, who's a doctor, if the interview was to happen day after tomorrow or after some time, and this medical negligence is not, he may be asked his opinion about it, right? So these areas which are connected with your profile, which are in news or which are poignant, which even is not in news. I have worked in the Indian Railways for 2 years. Is it in news? It's not in news, but it's poignant. So are there any IITians in this group? No IITians?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when somebody sees your BioD, your DAF, then doesn't it worry you, or doesn't it come to your mind? They will ask me, hey, why are you leaving your IIT? Why do you want to join civil services? Don't you think you are wasting time? Or don't you think you are wasting government money? Or, what is the point in being in civil services when you can get much better job? You can go abroad, and various shades of that question. Yes, no, don't know. Or you have well prepared for it. Good if you are well prepared for it. So the point is that there are certain areas in your BioD which are poignant, which may or may not be news, and that is very important. Even for our doctor friend over here, who is a doctor, hey, why do you want to join civil services? Doctors are very important. Hot commodities, government spends on you, or so much of money is spent if you're from a government college. Why do you want to? So questions like this, important. What is my suggestion? Identify various areas of your DAF. Even if your name, even if your date of birth, your background, you think it is poignant. And from these, identified 5 questions, 10 questions, few questions. From your hobbies, areas of interest, which I mentioned, identify 5 to questions, 10 questions. And take help of others if you want, your colleagues, your seniors, your parents. अच्छा इसमें से क्या question बनते हैं बताओ. And add to your own questions, jot it down in your mobile phone, in your memo function. And whenever you have time, ask yourself that question. Okay, this question comes, what will I respond? Or do I need to read about it more? Right? Next slide, please. Current affairs. You know, current affairs is always in the mind of a civil services aspirant. And he thinks that preparation of current affairs is so important, the whole thing revolves around it. It is important, but not everything. What you have been doing in practice, you have been, keeping in touch through your current affairs, reading newspapers, magazines, watching news, listening to news. Continue doing with it. That area of current affairs is especially important, which is an overlap with my profile, right? My DAF, as I was mentioning, that is very important. Other issues of national and international importance is important. If there is an issue of regional importance which is connected with my region. Now, if I'm from Northeast states, if I'm from the state of Mizoram, the clashes which are going on, that becomes very important for it. And why these clashes are happening, what are the solutions? These are certain areas which are very important. Just to give an example, reading 2 national dailies to give different perspective. You have the Hindus and the Indian Expresses, which are on one side. You have the TOIs and the Hindustan Times, which try to give a more balanced account. So try to balance your views so that you get a different perspective of the issue, as I said. Identify important issue. Now, this is very important. Here you may take note of what is to be done. There's an exercise. So take out the last 5 to 6 months of whichever magazine, maybe it is Frontline, maybe it is Outlook, maybe it is India Today that you were reading. If it is in soft form or hard form. And in the contents, just keep on marking the issues, the contents as to significance wise. Most important, important, less important. 3 takes, 2 takes, 1 takes, or whatever. And then you now have the advantage of hindsight. Those issues which are socially or nationally important and which have a long chain leading up to the interview, these are also very important. And therefore, I like to read them in detail. Once I have read them, what do I do? Then I need to reflect. I need to think. Okay, I read this article. About India's economic policy. I read this article about RBI's policy. And what was the author trying to say? I read this article about the challenges of the problem of pollution in Delhi. What does it say? So these are the 5 important points. These are the 7 important points. I should not try to memorize. I should not try to remember everything. Even if I get the 3 most important points. If I come to the issue of problem of pollution in Delhi, so there is this seasonal problem. There is the problem of burning of agrarian waste. There is this temperature inversion. There is this vehicular problem issue. There is the issues. If I come to solution issues, then enforcement of the laws, mass rapid transit systems, and other. If I'm able to just capture this, these will remain in my mind and I'll be able to apply myself and respond to questions. Identify what you think is important, right? So again, I have to ask you, what is you think is important from your perspective from what I have said? I'm re-emphasizing so that it is mentally revised by you. आपको क्या लगता है कि अभी तक just keep on saying 1 or 2 words. What are the most important points that I have tried to emphasize upon for yourself for this interview preparation?
Sir,
So
POC
job
and read wide.
experience, job
Okay.
experience.
Okay.
Sir, our background.
Background. Okay. DAF. Yes. Anything else?
So develop a thought process and be precise about your DAG.
Right. Okay. Anything else?
Focus on current affairs which are overlapping with your DAF.
Okay. So yes, these are some of the points. I started with the significance of thought. I talked about personality evaluation is thought evaluation. I am again trying to recapitulate what I have said. I also talked about how to develop thoughts, about the acronym ASSK. I talked about abilities. I talked about skills of communication. I talked about having the right knowledge. I also spoke about how to answer, the importance of listening very carefully, structuring your thoughts, paraphrasing your responses, and then coming with the most important points. I talked about views and opinion. I gave an example. In views and opinion, I said have different perspective. That is balanced view. Balanced views is not, giving a view which is in favor of the government. Balanced view is taking into account different perspectives. Opinion is taking a stand. That's what I mentioned about. I talked about the triple test as to how do I come to an opinion? Where do I take a stand? And talked about the legislative aspect, the constitutional aspect. I talked about the good of the people and the logic and reasoning. Then I talked about DAF, and finally I'm coming to current affairs, right? So these are the areas which you have to take note of. Next slide, please. Practice answering. Now, this is what I say the holy grail of preparation. I have given it the name of decathlon of preparation. If there was certain things which has helped me in my preparation, it was this. And whenever I have guided people one-to-one and they have practiced, the results have been fabulous. So here is what you have to do. Take out 1 hour of time any time of your day. 1 hour, morning, evening, afternoon, right? So all of you are with me. This is very important. If there is one takeaway I would like you to implement is this, because it integrates everything. Once you are there in your room, place yourself either before a webcam where you can see yourself, about before a mirror, about a mobile phone, where you can actually see yourself. Now you have to do something, an exercise called a self-mock. Now what do you have to do? You have to paraphrase 4 or 5 questions. Okay, today's session, I'm going to talk about my hobbies and interests. I'm going to talk about my subject. And then you have to paraphrase 5 questions. My hobbies and interest is drama. My hobbies and interest is, say, reading poems. My interest shows that I have extempore speech, debating. These are my hobbies and interests. Then what are the areas where questions can arise? If I worked in railways, why am I leaving railways? That can be a possible question. Then I have to sit down and I have to become the interviewer and I have to ask myself, Mr. Bhagat, you are working in the railways and you have worked as assistant mechanical engineer from a very prestigious scheme. And I can be, taunting myself also. Like Nishant can say, oh, you have Mr. Nishant, you have a doctor. And why do you want to become a civil servant? And then now Nishant becomes Nishant and he says, sir, I understand that, yes, doctors are very important. And blah, 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 he gives a reply. Now, again, you have to become an evaluator. The second part is very important. Identify what are the possible questions which can arise from my response. Nishant can say, sir, there are a lot many doctors in the society, and even if a few doctors are lost, that doesn't make any difference. And then Nishant can again think, is it a positive response? So as an interviewer, Nishant will like to pin himself and say, what do you mean doctors are not very important? And you see, do you know what is the ratio of doctor to patient in India? And do you know what is the ratio somewhere in the world? In the Nordic Republic, you say there are too many doctors should not be prohibited. Why should not they be prohibited from entering into the civil services? So now if this is the response you yourself are generating, then you have to go back to your primary response. And you have to see, is my response appropriate? And do I need to change the response? And if I need to change my primary response, then give again that response. And this you have to do by speaking aloud as if you are speaking in an interview. Now, you have to understand that questions are often repercussions of a reply. This is the logic. The first questions may arise from Wikipedia, from your DAF, which may be triggered based on what is happening in the society, but subsequently the questions are based on the responses that we give. And therefore, you have to watch your responses. You have to hone your responses. And this is, I say, the most important thing. Right? Do this every day. I would have done at least 40 sessions, 50 sessions. And I remember I knew that I'm going to be asked, or I guess that I'm going to be asked about. And my interview went for 55 minutes. After 30 minutes, the interview panel asked, okay, Mr. Bhagat, I see we are in the railways and you are in SCRA. We selected you from UPSC in SCRA and you were selected 20, 25 people and you want to leave. He was definitely trying to corner me. And I said, sir, it's not a question of leaving railways. It's a question of joining civil services. I want to be a civil servant. I was prepared for that answer because I had done several rounds of questioning myself, honing my responses, going back to the original response, and again taking another round of question and answer trail. And lot of questioning followed, and eventually I came to the issue that, sir, it's a question of one's personal choice. I feel that, civil services is among the best services. And if I'm among the best, the reply which I had practiced, I had given, if I'm among the best, then I have the right to move towards the best services. So this was a practice reply that I gave. But then came a question for which I had not prepared. And then came the question, Mr. Bhagat, are you married or are you engaged? And this Santosh Taneja ji often alludes, mentions about this question and gives a hearty laugh in his typical manner, which is very endearing. And I said, sir, no, sir, I am not married, neither am I engaged. So he says, okay, supposing you are engaged and tomorrow you find another girl who's more beautiful, you find yourself, you'll break the engagement and you will go for the other girl. I was not prepared for this response or this question. I had not anticipated. So although I had anticipated 40, 50, 60% of the questions through this exercise, not this one. And I say maybe my fortune, my hard work, or the God's grace wanted to put me through. So I said, sir, the first question arises that am I married to the railways? And all the members started laughing heartily, except the member who had posed this question. I said, sir, I mean, I have a bond with the railways, but it cannot be equated with a marriage or with engagement. And through logic and reasoning, through this response, which I would say was spontaneous, and I always credit my fate, my good fortune for this, I was able to summarize the most important aspect. That yes, what is the difference? And that, look, personally, I'm not getting you to bog down by the adverse questions which you're going to ask. And the interviewer wanted to ask another question, but the chairman intervened and said, that's fine. So that was also giving about my interview and how I prepared. I got good marks, so I think that should be the right way. Or that is not the only right way, but one of the right ways for preparation. So next slide. I'm just giving you an offshot of, I think I missed a slide, or was there a previous slide in this? Yeah, I have gone through this. So next slide. Another thing, honesty is the best policy. Whenever you're trying to give an answer, see, do not try to hoodwink the board ever, either on facts. If you're not sure about a particular question, say, sir, I'm not sure about it. If you don't know answer and you know that I don't know the answer, you can politely say, sir, I don't know about it. Especially if it's a fact-based question. If it's an opinion-based question, a view-based question, you should try to take an attempt, you should try to elicit an answer. But supposing you absolutely don't know about a particularly a fact-based question, then don't try to bluff the board, Because if you're trying to bluff the board, you are only bluffing yourself, right? So honesty, but which is not self-deprecating, is a better approach to be followed. Next slide, please. I'm just ending. So before I end, here is the areas. If you want to go through the book, this will be very helpful. I can just highlight the personality test, a perspective. At this stage, you can skip it. You need not go. How to prepare for the interview, when to start, and all those. This is relevant. In each of the chapter, I have given a chapter summary. So to you people, ordinary readers, I don't advise, but to you people who are already at this stage, you begin with the end of the chapter where there is a chapter summary. There are most important points are mentioned over there. How to answer. Now, some points of that I have already taken. Listening carefully, pausing before answer, replying carefully, then personal profile, how to prepare. This is a very, very important area because a bulk of the question invariably arise from your personal profile, especially there are poignant points. Verbal communication, non-verbal communication, and body language. How should I be seated? Should I be seated like this, holding my hand? Should I be seated like this? Should I be straight? There are many queries for the candidates. So those questions are answered over here. You have to be natural. Next, in very brief, I have to tell. Next slide, please. And again, the verbal communication. I have given one of the tips of verbal communication, which is going through that exercise, which I call the decathlon, that not only hones your thought processes, but helps you to identify what are your inner fears. There are many inner fears which you have. Face your fears. That's what I have to say. Who said this? Face your fears. Who said this?
Swami Vivekananda.
Every time I get this answer, Swami Vivekananda. Batman said this, face your fears, right? So in the movie, Batman is facing his own fears. He's afraid of the bats, and therefore he thinks that others are also afraid, and therefore he is. Vivekananda said, weakness is sin. You have to face your weaknesses, and yes. So you have to, every person has to face your fears. We have lurking fear. I had this fear that, look, what response I will give if I'm asked about this. Why are you leaving? I was also paid a salary at that point, just after 12th. So I faced my fears. It helped me, right? And this exercise also helps you to hone your skills of communication. You have hindrance, you have inhibition in speaking aloud. So the exercise I gave you helps you to get attuned with your own style of speaking, with your own voice. And it doesn't come unnaturally to you. Sometimes when I speak aloud for a long time, I become conscious, hey, am I right? Or others become conscious, मैं कैसा बोल रहा हूँ, मैं हकला रहा हूँ, मैं बार-बार कर रहा हूँ. So helping you to overcome that is very, very important, right? As I say, that there are 3 levels of evaluation. First is the thought base of evaluation. Second is communication skill base of evaluation. And third is knowledge base of evaluation. So all these 3 in this exercise helps you. Verbal communication, a part of ours. Days, hours, and moments before the interview, do's and don'ts. This you can quickly go. You want to skip, you can just go through the points, chapter summary. I have given my interview. I have given sample interviews, but most importantly, I have given 8 or 10 interviews of past successful candidates who are people like you from Sankalp. And it very helps to read these interviews. And when I next revise, maybe it will be Nishant, maybe it is Princey, or maybe it is Tejas, whose interview as toppers will be over here. So my best wishes to all of you, right? Work hard. Working hard helps you. That's it from me. If you have some quick questions, I can take it.
Sir, I have one question. Sir, can we move hands while talking in the interview? Like generally, I move hands just to explain my point more clearly.
Right. So what do you think about it? I don't give straight answers. I prod you to think about it.
I think, sir, it is a non-verbal cue and it may increase the engagement of the listeners.
Hmm.
So,
So you think it is fine moving your hands, making gestures, etc.?
sir,
Forget
not
about
too,
what is right and wrong. Whenever you have a dilemma, you say, let me put aside the क्या होना चाहिए क्या नहीं होना चाहिए, मैं क्या सोचता हूँ या मैं क्या सोचती हूँ, पहले उसको लाओ. Then I will evaluate, self-evaluate. My thought is right or wrong. Okay, so what do you think?
sir, I think to some extent it is right. I mean, some hand movement is right because it's natural.
Okay, so you think it is natural. So it's fine
Yes.
with me if it is natural. You are comfortable with me. It is not derogatory. Derogatory to nahi hai. Is it?
No, sir.
No, it is not derogatory. So I am taking cue from the triple test. Is it going to harm, anybody? It's not going to harm. Is it a natural practice? Yes, it's a natural practice. So some movement of hand is there. But supposing your hand movement is very excessive, then only you need to be conscious about it. To begin with, you can keep your hands on your palms on your lap. You can sit like this for a few seconds. You can be conscious, unconscious, or conscious of. You have to keep it like that. But after that, your body language takes over it, and there is no problem. Even if there is a movement, I am speaking. There is a movement of my arms, right? Any other question?
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, please.
Sir, I wanted to respond to the question that you got, like about the marriage. So, like you cracked a joke in that question. So, like,
Right.
can this much leeway with the board, or like, do we need to be very serious? Because, like, doesn't it hurt the ego of the person who asked the question? Like, because you asked a question in response to a question. So, is it
Yeah.
okay to crack a joke and take this much leeway, or like we need to be very serious?
First of all, I did not crack a joke. Anna, it's not a joke. He asked me a question that, are you engaged? I said, no. If you are engaged and you find a better girl, then will you leave it? My response to it was that, sir, it's improper to compare, leaving a service with breaking an engagement. The only thing which I did was ask is the other way around. And it was not a considered, I would say, it was an impromptu response. I smiled. I was not laughing, and therefore my non-verbal communication was not derogatory, was not disrespectful. I said, sir, the first question which arises is, am I married to railways? I only said that. To you now, at the hindsight, 30 years down the line, it may appear it was a joke, but actually I was sweating. Like you would be sweating, and it will be natural to sweat, and the heart would be beating. And when the other members of the board laughed and that member did not laugh, I felt, look, I have done something gravely wrong. And I thought that I must ameliorate the feeling of that member. And I said, sir, I totally understand that, I have a bond with the railways. But he himself said, no, that bond does not come in between while leaving the railways and joining civil services. That is what I also wanted to say. But he said something and the chairman intervened. So it's not that I cracked a joke. It's not that I was trying to be derogatory. And it is not that I was derogatory. Never try to be disrespectful or derogatory. Right? That is my response to your question.
Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Yes. Yes, Dev.
Sir, I wanted to ask, like, there are situations, or if a question is asked about some extrajudicial killings or about a particular situation-based question, then in that, as you mentioned, that honesty is the best policy, then I particularly feel inclined that extrajudicial killing on the part of a police officer for a rape convict is justified. But then constitutionally, it is wrong. But then there is larger good for larger number of people, as it sets an example. So in such scenarios, what kind of stand should we take? Should we focus more on the means or more on the ends?
See, as I said, those three sentences are not just three sentences, and its evaluation is never simplistic. Taking you back to thousands and thousands of years, Bhishma Pitama and Bhishma Parv, he is telling Yudhishthir that understanding what is dharma is very difficult, and what appears to be dharma in one instance appears to be adharma in the other instance, and that is why you have to really apply yourself. He gives an example, Yudhishthir, you always speak the truth, and speaking the truth is a virtue, but speaking the truth at times can be not a virtue. And he gives an example. What I'm giving an example has direct relevance to the question. That's why I'm giving these examples. He says that, look, there was a holy man, an ascetic, who had taken a vow not to tell the truth, and certain villagers came to him and said, please hide in your ashram, because there is a set of bandits who are chasing us and they'll kill us, and in your ashram where we'll be protected. But what happened was that when those bandits came, that holy man was asked that you are bound to say the truth, you'd please tell the truth. And he told the truth that yes, they're hiding over here. And those people were slaughtered. And therefore, truth did not come to his aid. On the other hand, killing is never considered to be good. But once there was a man-eater which had turned a man-eater a lion, and it was decided that we should kill that man-eater, and the shikari who killed that man-eater did not do something which is adharma. That's why understanding what is moral right, which is moral wrong, is not so fine. Once you say this is my opinion, I am happy that at this stage you are honest with your opinion, and always begin with your honest opinion. But preparation for the interview is not just espousing your opinion. Preparation for the interview is also molding an opinion and verifying whether it is right or wrong. Supposing you were to say this, that's why I take you through the dynamic process. Supposing you were to say this, what will be the response of the member in the board? May I ask you? I have not given the straightforward response. I want you to think. What will be the response of the member? So you think, Mr. Such and Such, that extrajudicial killing is fine, right? Do you think it is constitutionally valid? So what will be the response?
In terms of constitutional validity, no, sir, it is not constitutionally valid. But yes, there are certain times when such decisions have to be taken. Then, for example, as Bhishma Pitama did, or as Lord Krishna guided Arjun to do in the battlefield to kill his own kith and kin.
So let's go on. I'm trying to say, then he would ask you a question, or Princey or Nishant, can you pose certain questions on this response? What comes to your mind?
The question which comes to my mind is, what is the relevance of the judicial system of the country?
Absolutely. So this is the question, what will you give response to that? And this is not a question which I have arisen. I have just thrown the question to show this is how obvious and how logical. So what will you say? Now, this is the dynamic process I want to go you to go through. Okay. Next, what will be your response?
Sir, I did not get Nishant's question correctly.
The question is that if people have to resort to extrajudicial killing, then what is the relevance of law? What is the relevance of constitution? And may I add that if that is so, then extrajudicial killing should be incorporated and made a part of law. That given a situation you can kill, then what will be your response be? Huh?
Yes, sir. It is like a tricky place where we have to find a way out.
So the point, my dear friend, is that actually you are seeing one perspective, and that perspective is not the correct perspective. If you were to take away the basic foundation of law, and you are to give to an individual who's not trusted and trusted with this, killing is permitted when somebody is faced with life, when somebody is faced with situation like you are a Sainik, right? He is sanctified by law, and that sanction comes from the society. You're a policeman, there is an encounter, but that encounter does not mean that you take the pretext of encounter, you kill a person, you stage an encounter, you kill him. You know, I will not name a person, but he was in RPF when I was working in Mughal Saraya in the railways. And he had very good marks. I'm talking 30 years back. But in an interview out of 300, he just got 50 marks. He was asked about extrajudicial killings. And his response was very succinct. Sir, if a dog goes mad, he should be shot. He got 50 marks out of 300. Despite his very good marks in the written, he did one mistake and he could not get the service which he was aspiring for. Because his response was not correct. You may agree with me, you may not agree with me. Laws and constitution has got a purpose. And that cannot be abrogated, that cannot be taken over by individuals at whims and fancies. Article 21 gives fundamental rights, yet it can only be taken away by the due process of law. Right? So I would request you, I cannot change your views, but I would request you to read more about it and think and go back whether your thought is correct. So last question I will take, Nitisha. I can see your hand.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for such an insightful session. So my question is that I have taken up a job after mains and there was no place where I could have mentioned it on my DAF. So if I want to bring to the notice of the board, how can I do that?
See, you have not mentioned it, then actually normally it will not come to. But can I know what was your job?
So I have joined a consulting firm Accenture Strategy. So maybe I would like to talk about it and bring to the notice of the board.
So if naturally there is an occasion to mention, then you can mention. Otherwise, just trying to butt in the information and that will be unnatural as far my advice would be. So if there is some question which is connected to this particular field, the work you are doing, then you can say, sir, I'm actually working in this field, or you can offer that information if naturally there is a reason for you.
Okay, thank you.
So that's it from my side, and Raju ji and my friends from Sankalp, can we call it a day?
Sir,
Because other speakers would be there. The session has really gone long.
yeah, this is Sukriti, sir. I think going by previous year standards, offline hote to candidates would have pulled 1 hour more, but we have to wind up. We are sitting in an office. Saying thanks to Madhukar sir is like saying thanks to an elder in the family. He has been guiding us for past so many years, and every time we start our interview guidance program with Madhukar sir's lecture, and for past 5-6 years I've been in this lecture, I always learn something new. I wish I had a mentor like him, and you all are fortunate enough to have him here. And Bhai Sahab is here. Santoshji Bhai Sahab. He has joined. Usually we start with Santoshji's lecture and then followed by Madhukar sir's. But Bhai Sahab is here. So vote of thanks to Bhai Sahab मैं Madhukar sir को
नहीं है. What I'm trying to say that all of you do well. Prepare what I have said. This is the sum and substance. And thanks a lot, Bhai Sahab को हमारा अभिनंदन, and my best wishes to all of you. I'll take leave. Permit me. Huh?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
So we have with us Santoshji Bhai Sahab. Because being a coordinator of online lectures, the difficult task of showing lamp to the sun has fallen before me, giving a brief introduction of Bhai Sahab. We say that he started a journey. Bhai Sahab, you are not audible. आपका आवाज नहीं आ रहा. भाई साहब आप ऑडिबल नहीं है. नलिनी जी ऑडिबल नहीं है. लॉग आउट करके लॉग इन करिए वापस से, शायद जुड़ जाए। नहीं in the heart of Delhi we have a connectivity issue. What can you do about it? कुछ देर वेट कर लेते हैं। I think we have to see. हाँ अनम्यूट करें, बोलिए। नहीं आवाज नहीं आ रही।
आवाज आ रही है?
हाँ 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 आ गए। यस, वेरी मच ऑडिबल।
आ रही है आवाज सुकृति?
जी भाई साहब, जी भाई साहब आ रही है।
ओके, कितने लोग हैं इस समय?
59।
मुझे लगता है कि शायद आधे लोग खाना खाने चले गए हैं। क्योंकि जब मधुकर जी का स्टार्ट हुआ था, ये मेरा स्टार्ट नहीं हो रहा था, तो दिस नंबर वाज अबव 100।
जी
एम आई राइट? ये अभी इमीडिएटली गए हैं या पहले कम हो गई थी संख्या? कैन यू से टेल मी समथिंग अबाउट इट?
हाँ हाँ भाई साहब, ये ऑलमोस्ट लेक्चर रैप अप हो रहा था तभी।
नहीं, अभी ये जितने लोगों ने ज्वाइन किया था उससे अब
जी
50% रह गए हैं क्या लगभग, जब ज्वाइन किया था
जी
बिगिनिंग?
जी
तो
हाँ जी,
कंटिन्यूसली कम हुए हैं या सडनली कम हुए अभी लेक्चर कंप्लीट होने के बाद?
सडनली कम हुए भाई साहब।
हाँ, फिर मेरा कहना ये है कि मैं ऐसा महसूस करता हूँ कि लेक्चर बहुत ही बढ़िया था, बहुत ही कंप्लीट था। और अगर आपको लगता हो, इनकी ओपिनियन ले लीजिए। would you like to continue for another 15-20 minutes or should we break it now and do it again? इनके राय पूछ लीजिए आप। मैं आप लोगों से सीधा पूछ रहा हूँ। My friends, I hope you had enough diet today. And now, would you like to have more? Would you be able to digest it, or should we do it again? Because not much is required to be done. In my opinion, he has done a complete good lecture. What do you say?
So we can do it again. We are done for today.
We can continue. Candidates are saying in chat we can continue for half an hour. They are saying 20-25 minutes.
No, even less than that. Okay.
I think बस कंटिन्यू करने को ही कह रहे हैं कैंडिडेट्स। वी कैन कंटिन्यू।
चलिए। तो मैं ये कहूँगा, I would like to say that generally whatever Madhukar Bhagat has covered, I will not be able to say new things on that, because he has covered all areas, all aspects. Maybe to clarify and to re-emphasize few things I would like to say. See, first of all, you need to understand that this interview, I didn't know, I couldn't listen whether he mentioned it or not. It is completely a test of personality. And test of personality doesn't mean it should be 40 minutes or it should be 15 minutes. Board is so competent to judge. Maybe in 4 or 5 minutes, first 5 minutes, they are able to understand where do you stand. Just 5 to 10 minutes. They give you chance to carry on for 30 minutes, 35 minutes, and they also reconfirm that whatever their opinion was, is that okay or not? So, first of all, I would say our confidence level should be quite okay. We should have faith in God and faith in our hard work, that we have done enough and now we are going to perform very well. That confidence is very, very important. And second is that we should not at all be over assertive about anything. We should never pick up an argument with any of the board members in whatever circumstances they are. Then we should never bluff the board for any reason. We can politely, safely say, no, sir, sorry, I don't know, sir. I'll look into it after I go back. You can say whatever way you want to say, right? Then I would say that this is, sometimes people say this is a game of elimination. I don't say it's a game of elimination. In my opinion, it's a game of selection. So you should go with the mind that I am to get selected and they are going to select me. I should be able to perform the way I can be selected. Non-verbal communication, that also has its impact. What is that non-verbal communication? Non-verbal communication is like if you are only narrating something and there is no expression on your face and there is no conviction lying with your words, then it's a only verbal communication.
आपका म्यूट है सर.
It's very, very important that you know yourself thoroughly and you be honest to the core. You are going for doing something great for the country. These positions which you want to acquire and for which you struggle quite a lot for a number of years sometimes, even the sixth time attempting candidate has got the first position sometimes. And even last time, it was third time she appeared. Twice she could not clear prelims. So none of you should have anything in mind that this is my fifth attempt, this is my fourth attempt, this is my first attempt. That is out of any purview to be considered. Now maybe like if I have to quote, your name matters quite a lot. One of the girls was Avantika. She did full research on that. Other's name was Meera. And they were pointed out by me in DAF discussion that you work on your name. And Meera also. Meera was from Kerala and this girl, Avantika, was from Punjab. And, the third person was Sir Jeevan. And we worked quite a lot on their name. And it was the starting point to understand him. And till last, and even the last question posed was relating to their name in some way or the other. So, I mean, they felt, these candidates felt that this was a very, very great positive point for us. Now, I would say that, like, I'll read few words straight away. Instead, know your ordination, he has already told you. Clarity of aim, why IS? This is very, very important. There are different questions. One is why IS, one is why civil services, one is why not your own profession to continue. So we have to prepare answers accordingly and very logical. These answers should be. We can take it up during our DAF discussion. And then little nervousness is quite okay, quite natural. Don't get disturbed because of that. If there is any doubt in any question we are not able to understand, please ask for clarification without any hesitation. They would like it that you understand the question well. Then warm personality without being excessive, smiling and pleasant without overdoing it. Sincerity which reflects keenness and desire to learn. Conviction and firm stand without being argumentative. Willingness to admit mistakes without making a mess. No arrogance, no bad body language, no casual attitude. Now, on this, I'll quote an example. One of the candidates who was a doctor, he came for second interview, and we analyzed his last interview. There were 75% questions on only medical sciences, and he got 50% marks. So he was very confident that he performed well in first attempt, and next attempt also he'll perform very well. So all the time, 3 times we tried to interview him, and he was highly casual. And in last interview when he went, I had to tell him very clearly, look, my friend, last time you got 50%, this time you may get even 30%, because you are not serious about things, you are not replying to the best of your ability, and make sure when you know the answer, try to answer full, and if you don't know the answer, please say, sorry, I don't know. Don't be casual at all. And somehow he could make through, but that was his major hurdle. So we can't be casual at all. Now picking up arguments with any board, I already told, is dangerous. Trying to score an ideological point is also not required. Becoming cynical and critical of the government is also not desirable. Criticizing individuals, organizations, institutions, condemning them when you are not fully aware of the facts. Know your organization if you have worked, know about your college, know about your institution, know about the course you have studied in. This is very, very natural, and we should prepare it very well. Then making sweeping statements is also not desirable. Dress, it should be formal dressing, but don't be and not be casual, but it should not be like appearing very bright. Try to wear which suits you best, and colors also chosen like that, and black shoes, and not with many ornaments or something of that. If you want to discuss that, we can discuss in our DAF discussion. Positive attitude and faith in system, very important. Openness to ideas. Pleasant personality, everybody would like to have, it is but natural. Very important, sit upright, do not slouch. Remain thoroughly professional throughout the interview, keep your cool no matter what is asked to you. Utmost regard to the board, no bias against them, no matter what you had heard. You have heard from them about you. I'll quote an example. There was a girl from Amritsar. She lost her father. She was a little disturbed. And she remained with us in Sankalp for about 15-20 days. When she went to the board became so erratic, I don't know why. But they decided to pull her down. And firstly, when she got and stood up there, they didn't ask her to sit down. So she waited, and then they said just in a very bad manner, sit down, okay, sit down. So she had to sit down and say thanks. She was very professional. Then they started questioning, and each and every member, when questioned, they all laughed as if she was not doing anything. And but she did not get disturbed. And she carried on. Then in the last also, they said, okay, now you can go. Your interview is over. Still, she said thanks to everybody in a very polite manner. she did not lose her confidence. And you'll be surprised, when she came out, I asked her, how could they make such a good team to pull you down? She said, no, sir, it was not a team, it was a gang. And that was the answer which made me clear that how strong she is. She got very good marks and she was 5th ranker. She wanted IFS, she got IFS. So what I'm trying to say, sometimes board takes a stand. Okay, this candidate will now pull him down. And if let's see what is the strength in the candidate. Remain thoroughly professional, I already told you. Moderate views are essential. Then be honest, she has already told you. Eye contact. Eye contact, sometimes you give too much of emphasis on this. What I would like to say, it's a common sense issue. When somebody asks you a question, one board member asks you a question, obviously you will look at the person and listen to the question properly, and then when you answer, obviously you will try to look at the same board member. But yes, if the answer goes on for 15, 20, 35, 25 seconds, obviously then you'll move your head to see that how others are responding to your answer. But otherwise, if it is a 1 line, 2 line, 3 line answer, then you are not likely to move your head this side, that side. So it's not a big issue. You should be very normal, and you should not take it as a special issue. Posture. I think I told that you must sit straight, walk straight, stand straight, because the height nobody can change, and posture everybody can mark. So maintain good posture, and that way you will be able to give better impression. I don't know. See, the point is, sometimes we don't take pause while speaking. If required, we should take pause and talk something. Yes, I'll explain. One is that you are giving a speech. Other is you are trying to explain something to the people. So we should talk as if we are trying to explain. Even if I know the question very well, before starting, if you can give a little pause and then starts, it's a better way. But don't disturb your normal way, because if you deliberately try to do something which you are not doing otherwise, it may disturb your answer. But yes, better it is if you start with little pause and be in the state of mind that you are being asked to explain, not only spell out, spell out, spell out. Now, some concluding remarks. After you have given your best shot, have faith in God, but do start preparing for the next round. Be patient and maintain your peace. Sorry, be patient and maintain your pace. This examination all about tenacity, and perseverance. Don't lose heart and work hard. Your efforts are bound to succeed. Finally, remember, IAS could be a great beginning if you can make it. However, it certainly is not the end of life. So don't take any failure too harshly upon yourself. Therefore, and there is much more to life than just a single exam. If I have to quote Morarji Desai, when he cleared his ICS exam, I'm not cleared, when he was appearing for ICS interview, they asked him this question, Mr. Muradi, if we don't select you, then what will you do? You know what he said? He said, sir, I have not thought about it up till now, but if it so happens, I will have 10 better things to do. So this was his answer. So what I'm trying to say is that go with complete confidence, but with no arrogance. And I think there will be a number of things which we can discuss on your DAF, personal DAF, when we sit one-to-one each candidate, and there things would be able to, I will be able to explain you things in particular to your DAF. So thank you very much. I close it here.
Yes, I think we have wrapped up in good 24 minutes.
Thank you, sir.
I'm like I shared, Saubhagyaji's number is on the pamphlet we have shared, and for DAF you can call him and fix your appointment. It would be happening mostly online, and I think this about sums it up our session today. I would encourage you to have a DAF discussion as much, especially to the candidates who are going to appear in the first week of the interview, this phase. So please do book your slots. And if there's any difficulty, I've given my number, Rajuji's number. You can call up regarding group marks or regarding anything. So I think we can conclude our session for today. Does anybody have any query at this point of time? I'm sorry, I should have asked.
Don't encourage for that. They are in a mood to take lunch.
Okay.
मैम एक क्वेरी था, लाइक क्योंकि मैं छत्तीसगढ़ से हूँ तो मेरे लिए प्रिपेयर नहीं पॉसिबल नहीं हो पाएगा 1-to-1 टाइम वेट करूँ। मैं जैसे ड्रेस का सर ने बोला था अभी, तो इस बार मैं सोच रहा था कि लाइक ग्रे कलर का सूट, लाइक ऐसे कोई कर सकते हैं क्या उसको?
हाँ बोलिए क्या पूछ रहे हैं आप?
प्रणाम सर।
प्रणाम
सर, एक्चुअली मैं इस बार सोच रहा था कि ग्रे कलर का सूट से ही इंटरव्यू दूं करके। लास्ट टाइम मैं ब्लैक एंड व्हाइट दिया था, वो बहुत ज्यादा आपने भी सजेस्ट किया था।
कौन सा वाला?
सर वो ब्लैक एंड व्हाइट, वो उसने व्हाइट शर्ट ब्लैक कलर का था वो पूरा सूट।
नहीं, पूरा सूट ब्लैक कलर का सजेस्ट मैंने किया था आपको?
नहीं सर, आपने मना किया था उस टाइम, फिर क्योंकि उस टाइम मैंने वो बनवा लिया था, आप सभी ना पूछे उस टाइम।
यही मैं सोच रहा था, क्योंकि वो सुटेबल नहीं है।
हाँ,
इतना ब्राइट एकदम वो देखना ठीक नहीं है। तो आपका ग्रे कलर का अगर है, ग्रे में बहुत लाइट ब्लू तो नहीं कह रहे आप, ग्रे कह रहे हो ना?
नहीं सर, ग्रे कलर,
ग्रे इज फाइन।
जो हाँ जैसे ये शर्ट का है उस कलर का है।
Let me explain that. See, my point is, this is not as important as you sometimes consider. But yes, not wearing a good dress is also important to be taken care of. तो अगर आप ग्रे कर रहे हैं तो इट्स फाइन, नो प्रॉब्लम। अब सूट पहन रहे हैं तो उसके साथ टाई भी पहनेंगे आप, है ना? नो प्रॉब्लम।
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so you have many queries, and we'll have it in your DAF discussion. We'll conclude this session for today. Thank you, Vasav, and thank you all of you. We are here, and all the best for your preparation, for your selection.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.